Hello everyone, my name is Zeak, and today's video will be a tad bit more of a rant than an actual discussion. However, I will be making good points, particularly about the balance of the bomber, so please stay tuned to this. Also, if you have not watched the bomber video, it's probably a better idea to watch that first than this. But first, here's why I'm doing this. See, the reason why I'm doing this is because the bomber is the king of the glass cannons, relatively cheap, high damage, particularly against anything larger than itself. Structures, capital ships, not so much against corvettes, at least for this game. But balancing that tends to be a bit hard. Yes, you could say the corvette, the destroyer, and even interceptors, fighters when they come out, will be counters to this vessel. But destroying the ship itself isn't the only way you need to counter them. You need to counter their ordnance, not just in point defense either, because these things can do a ton of damage. And at the end of this, I'm going to give you a scenario that popped into my head that really does have me worried. So, first off, now the devs have stated something about the bomber, but they actually put it in the cruiser's description. So I'm going to quote the cruiser. Heavy weapons platform, capable of reducing enemy infrastructure and capital ships to rubble within minutes. Despite their awesome power, they are particularly vulnerable against bombers fitted with long-range weaponry. Long-range weaponry. Just how powerful can this long-range weaponry be? We're talking about something that could fly who knows how far. Let's say from the current beta, maybe from the asteroid station that you start on to the planet below. Let's just say it can go that far in distance-wise. That's pretty damn far. Now, I don't think it'll actually go that far, but still it's a good idea to bring up. Now, something that can fire that far doesn't need to pack a massive punch, because it's very hard to counter them. Yes, it's more vulnerable to point defense during that time it's flying, but it can still face through, especially if this thing can just sit back and just boom, 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 before any interceptors or whatnot figure out where this thing is, and then go destroy it. And if it's in a group, it can unleash a storm. Now, again, these long-range variants shouldn't do too much, but if you make it a close-range vehicle, yes, then it should do a ton of damage per shot. Possibly these are dumbfire weapons, and somewhere in the middle it can have precision type of strikes, good for taking out hard points, whatever modules it may have on, something like that. But you really got to do a good size balance between short and long. If it's short range, this is where your corvettes, your fighters, and a lot of that point defense screen comes in, because the long range ones, they see fighters coming in, they can just jump out. Granted, they're inexpensive compared to the bigger capital ships or even the stations. The smaller ships, they have to get in, and they have to come in with their own interceptors, not only to take down the enemy's interceptors and corvettes, but to also soak up a bit of the point defense fire. I see short range decently balanced here, and that's not the issue. My issue is, we're talking about a game that's meant, they actually state, hundreds of players. Well, let's take exactly 100 players. Each decide to get into a bomber and just blitz, just straight to station, to station, to station, to station, just enemy stations. 100 bombers, each firing even the cheapest anti-capital weapon. One ordnance. Just warps in, target locks, lobs the ordnance, and then warps out. How do you counter that? I don't care what its range is. How do you counter something like that? Fighters, the interceptors, they're going to have to figure out where these guys are coming, where they're going, and when and how long they have as a window of opportunity to attack these bastards. And even if you take down just a few, I'm pretty sure even half that is more than enough to destroy a station or even a capital ship. How do you stop 100 bomber blitz? Well, first you can do minor tweaks make it have a long time before it can charge up to its warp drive, or I don't know, something like that. You can put in tracking and signature, like signature. The more electronical equipment it's got on, the more of its ordnance it has. It produces a bigger and bigger signal, and ships, even if they have terrible sensor tracking, they should be able to pick up from this ship from a long ways off and be able to accurately track it throughout the system. This way they could possibly catch up to it. That's one counter. This way it'll allow them to know where they're going, about where they're going to want to warp in, turn off the warp engines. Really good if you have an interdictor type ship. Just warp right in front of their path, drop the interdiction field, and just blow them to hell right then and there. Another idea, and this one I actually like, it deals with price. First off, the bomber and price at minimum will be between, well, it'll go interceptor, fighter when it comes out, then the bomber, and then the corvette. It probably is how it's going to go. I say make the bomber the same price as a corvette, if not more, just because of its power this thing can be. Or you can put it into its ordnance. Just a single ordnance of just, say, one of its anti-capital weapons, just the weakest, should cost the price of this should cost the price of the bomber itself. And these things start getting more and more expensive. This will actually slow down the chance of that blitz happening. Yes, it means they have to save up more for that, for whatever they're trying to do, but it should definitely come with a immediate free package. I mean, maybe it'll take the entire load of missiles or whatnot just to actually do somewhat damage a cruiser. So enough of these things can just lob a swarm and still do enough to a cruiser, but their effective overall push, blitz power, is definitely much, much lower. Now, these are just small and minor tweaks. I did have a lot more, but there's no way I'm going to remember all this. I've been pretty much fuming about this for months, just writing down the good ideas, screwing the bad. But definitely put down in the comments your thoughts, your ideas, other exploits or maneuvers you can do, Zerg or not. This was definitely a Zerg type run, and your counters to what I've stated, or anything that another person comes up with, or even you come up with. I definitely want to hear these down in the comments below, and I hope the devs actually watch this one, because it is. I see this one as a good opportunity for the devs to understand what we're fearing and what other exploits we can come, so they can prepare for some type of fix of this. So definitely look forward to your comments, and as always, help keep space epic. Later, guys.